In this video, I'm going to talk to you about working with subject matter experts. The video is going to be 3 parts. The first part is going to be about why the subject matter expert you're working with might be difficult to work with. So some reasons. The second part is going to be what are you bringing to the table that might be compromising that relationship. And the third part is going to be all these little awesome actionable steps that you can take basically today to improve the outcome of your e-learning project. My name is Sabramowicz, and thank you so much for visiting my channel. I hope you subscribe. I really do talk about things related to instructional design and crafting meaningful scenarios. And the reason I'm shooting this video today is because I work with a lot of people who put together portfolios. Those portfolios end up scoring them projects and basically sometimes launching their freelance career. Now, what's interesting is with portfolios, you can create something and never actually work with a subject matter expert. And that's fine. That's cool. I mean, when I created my flagship demo piece, I also just was my own expert. I worked from my own experience, and my partner, Ryan Martin, we kind of collaborated on that because we had been working in the corporate world, and it was easy for us to create something that was about bullying because, we experienced those situations. Now, when you get into the world of work, though, you cannot be your expert forever. You have to work with other people. And that's why I wanted to shoot this video, is because I have been working with subject matter experts for a long time now, both in corporate and in academia. And there is definitely nuance to working with other people, as with all kinds of work with other people. But I feel like for some reason, our L&D in our industry makes working with subject matter experts like this thing, like it's an issue, and it is not. It is, and in fact, I think that creating these kinds of categories that we put people in, like, do you have this kind of subject matter expert who's like the avoider, and actually labeling them is really detrimental to successful projects. So what I wanted to do is unpack that a little bit, give you some really actionable tools, tips, and strategies to handle this. Maybe have you shift your content a little bit, like your content, your context about how you're coming into these situations. And I hopefully at the end of the video, what you're able to do is let me know which strategies you're going to implement next, which ones you've used, and maybe some that you suggest that are incorporated into my list of awesome. All right, let's get started. So first off, working with other people is always going to be difficult. Not because people are difficult per se, it's because there's a lot of things going on in the background that you don't know about. And so whenever I feel like there's a difficult situation coming on, or somebody is not gelling with me, which is very important to me on these projects, is I always think about the fact that it's not me. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I want you to consider that sometimes it's not really that there's anything wrong with you or your approach or anything that you're doing. Sometimes there's something going on in that person's life, and you just happen to be in the line of fire, and it's okay. And I tell myself that whenever I face somebody who's maybe being a little bit more difficult than they should be, I always think there's something going on, and it's not about me. There's something going on, and I just happen to be the outlet, and that's okay because I can handle it, right? So here's some of the things that I have experienced and maybe learned later that actually are the reasons why my subject matter experts were not as forthcoming, not available when I needed them. Maybe they were missing in action. Here's some of the reasons why. They were busy or overwhelmed. Listen, one of the things that happens is we pick people who are the best at their job. And usually those people are the best, and that means that they're busy. They're the busiest. They're usually the people who are working in the front lines. And so we expect them to be a part of our project now when it's like the 25th thing on their to-do list. So a lot of times those people are just overwhelmed with work, and now you've come and added to that workload. And so that can be very difficult and overwhelming for them. So have empathy about that. And empathy is something that I'm going to kind of stress here, because I want you to consider that this person, in all circumstances, most people want to look good, right? They want to do a good job. They want to feel recognized for the work that they're doing. They want to go home and be happy at the end of the day. And so most people actually want that. And so what you have to do is have empathy and figure out, how can I help this person feel like they're significant, like they're contributing in the right way? How can I make them feel comfortable? How can I make them feel confident that they're doing what is expected of them? So all those things are going to play into that, how you set that role, because you're coming in as an advisor, as somebody who knows more than them in this particular area as far as developing e-learning especially. A lot of times our subject matter experts, especially the ones that I've been working with, they don't actually know what they're getting into. And I completely understand that. We nerd out about this stuff. We nerd out about development. We go and check out demos on Articulate Storyline's website. All those things are things that we're immersed in. Now our subject matter expert might be somebody who's never even checked out e-learning before. And so what might be happening is they don't even know what they're getting into. And that is terrifying. That is uncertainty. Uncertainty sucks, and you don't like it and they don't like it. So you have to be aware of that and find ways to compensate for it. They don't know what's expected of them. And this is huge. I think a lot of times people have expectations about how long something's going to take. They don't know how much of, if they're like, what you're going to ask them to do. If, especially the other point when I mentioned they've never looked at e-learning before, they might not even know what's expected of them. Are they going to have to learn new software? Are they going to have to spend time looking at things that they don't necessarily understand? Are they going to be asked to give opinions and ideas on things that they know nothing about? And this is what happens. We ask subject matter experts to give us ideas and information about things they're not necessarily knowledgeable about, like user interface things and colors and schemas and feedback, where they've never actually needed to do that. So what you need to do is actually be very explicit about what's going to be expected of that person, and acknowledge that they have no idea, and that might cause anxiety. They don't know how this project will make them look. I know that sounds kind of petty, but really people are concerned about whether, is this going to make me look foolish? Is this going to elevate my status, or is this going to decrease my status? And that's something that's on their mind, whether it's subconscious or not. It might just be a bad time in their life, a bad time in their year, a bad time in their day, a bad time. They might feel pressured. They might feel pressured to actually do this without even wanting to. You know, they've been assigned a task and now they're asked to share all of their knowledge and information, and they might not want to do that. They might feel commoditized. Like if they share this information with you, they're no longer going to maintain that value that they have as being the expert, because now it's somewhere else. It's sitting out there and not just in their heads. And that is scary. They might not be ready to do this. I've worked with instructors, and this is on the academic side, that have been teaching their subject for 30 years. And all of a sudden, the university or wherever they were decides that now we're going online, now we're going e-learning, now we're doing this. And they're not ready. They haven't been primed. They haven't been sold on it. And so what happens is they come in completely anxious about how they're going to be perceived, how this is going to affect their career, how this is going to affect their expertise and their standing. All those things now are in this big bundle of uncertainty, which is very scary and can manifest in very ugly ways. They have an ego. Yeah, you're going to meet those people who are simply not open to this kind of work. They feel like they know more than you. They feel like they can dictate things, and they're going to be difficult to work with. Those people exist, and let's get ready for them. So while I was working with subject matter experts, here are some of the things that actually happened while I was working with them. Their mother got sick. Their child was in rehab. They lost their partner. Their partner got cancer. All these things, even though they're not work-related, will affect this person. And so what I want you to consider is that you don't have the whole picture, and what you need to do is make sure that you're coming in with amazing empathy. I wanted to share a story with you, and I always keep this story in the back of my mind because it helps me humble myself whenever I walk into a situation and I think I know what's going on. So the story is about these 6 or 7 wise men. They were blindfolded. They were brought into a room, And they were told, okay, now wherever you are, feel out what you have in front of you and let us know what you think it is. And so, one person said, this is a wall, this is a rope, this is a fan, this is a snake, blah, blah. What they were actually in front of was an elephant, and each of them got to see or touch just a piece of that elephant. And so each of them was very much convinced about the part that they were touching or experiencing, that's exactly what this thing was. And one other thing I never want to be is one of those people, is to be so concrete about what I think something is when I don't have the whole picture. Like, I'm always wondering, what if this is me? What if this is me and I'm blind to the other pieces? And that's what this process is about. Working with subject matter experts is empathy, is figuring out that you don't have the whole picture, and maybe functioning on some well-intentioned premises, like people want to do a good job, people want to feel significant, they want to go home during the end of the day not feeling terrible about the work that they did, and also that there's other things going on in their lives that they might not even know is affecting their performance, and not even know that it's sharing something with you. So I've worked with some amazing people, and they've been super forthcoming, and they put in as much work, and if not more than I did, even though I knew they were slammed busy. And then I've worked with people who were terrible, who were egomaniacs, who did, slammed Zoom calls on me because they didn't want to listen to my approach, were intimidated by converting their information into learning because all of a sudden they felt like they were being challenged. So all those things are real, and that doesn't mean that subject matter experts fall into some weird boxes and categories. It's just that they're human, and in different contexts, those people would be different. Like, I've had conversations with people where if you're talking to them about their work and turning their information into an online course, they get on edge because of all the other factors that I mentioned. And then we all hang out at the barbecue and they are a completely different person because they're comfortable and we're not challenging what they actually know, and it's not going to be at stake. It's not going to challenge their credibility. It's not going to make them look foolish. All those things are different. Now let's get to the part about what you bring to the table. There are people who have put together categories for subject matter experts. They fall into the nitpicker, the missing in action, the know-it-all. Now, what I want you to think about is that when somebody walks in to the room and you've already been pre-framed saying that person is nitpicky or that person is a know-it-all, what happens is they've already come in with this preconception that you have of them, and now everything that they're doing is they have to work to undo that because the first impression's already been made. What I want you to think about is, what is the first impression that those people are getting of you, right? Is it professional? Is it courteous? Is it warm? Is it welcoming? All those things. Is somebody introducing you that those people respect? Are you coming in with being known as just a vendor? Are you coming in as somebody who's a trusted advisor who has done great work before? So all those things matter. So if you can pre-frame that conversation in some ways, if you can control the narrative there, that's very, very important, because that person's going to perceive you that way. Make sure that you get introduced the right way, and that whatever comes before to that conversation precedes you is what you want them to believe and to see about you, because it will affect the project. So consider, are you coming in with expectations? Are you coming in with demands? Are you coming in with, I'm going to show everybody how they were all wrong and now I'm going to revolutionize the way you guys do learning? You have to be careful how you tread, because those things affect people. They've made those decisions before. And the last thing you want to do in those conversations is to make people feel like all the decisions they've made before have been wrong and that you're here to show them that. Are you putting unnecessary pressure on those people by saying things like, I'm going to ask you to do this, I'm going to ask you to do that, I'm going to ask you to show up to these meetings, I'm going to ask you to review these things that you might not know anything about? So know how you're verbalizing these things so that the pressure is not so great on those people, because most of them are, like I said, so busy they don't need this extra pressure. Are you taking 100% ownership of the situation? Yes, there are situations where somebody is missing, you can't move forward, but one of the things you want to do is always come into those situations saying, I'm going to do 100% of what it takes to get this project. And I will not blame other people. I will simply think about the things that I can do in order to move this forward, the things that I can do to mitigate any kind of things happening. So what I want you to consider is, are you coming in with that attitude? Are you coming in defeated? Are you coming in with baggage? Are you coming in thinking, oh, here's another one of these things? I want you to let all of that go, because the minute you do, things will change. And that leads you into the third part of this video, which is, what are some strategies that you can use to change the trajectory of those projects to make sure that everybody is working in a harmonious manner and you guys are all having a big barbecue at the very end. So like I said before, the most important thing you can come in with here is empathy. I know that sounds weird, but empathy is huge. You don't know the full picture, and somebody might, be handling, they're thinking it's a snake and you think it's a wall, and the two of you get together and both of you are wrong. So one of the things you want to do is just come in knowing that you don't have the whole picture. And like Elon Musk says, I'm wrong. And every day I just want to figure out where I'm wrong and how I can fix it and how I can be less wrong. That's really all it is, because we're just seeing everything through our very own pinpoint and lens. And that's so important for you to just internalize, and it'll help you just be more open to revelations, more things that you didn't expect them to be revealed to you, but all of a sudden they are, and you are actually open to seeing those things. That's super important. Okay, so number one strategy is have empathy. Number two, know that it's not about you. And even if somebody is crusty, even if somebody is difficult, if somebody is even super happy, know that it's not about you. That detachment, that distance allows you to keep your center, and it allows you to keep the main thing, which is getting that project underway. So that way you are not at the mercy of somebody's feelings, emotions, and what they're going to do or say. You are actually focused on the main thing, which is making sure that the project is successfully completed and the people that experience it get a ton of value out of it. Leverage the law of reciprocity. Bring a hot beverage, bring some treats. As silly as that sounds, it actually works. That's why it works in chocolate shops. When you walk in and they give you that little chocolate, and then you go and spend $30 on a chocolate box because they gave you something and now you feel like you have to reciprocate. Well, it's the same thing. Use it. It actually works. Don't expect your subject matter expert to do instructional design work. One of the things that people do is they'll send things to the subject matter expert to fill in, like, here, fill in this feedback or fill in these scenarios. These people don't know what they're doing. They're domain experts in their thing. You're a domain expert in the feedback, in crafting these experiences, in making sure that you're writing proper instructions. We know that you went to school or you practiced this in order to be able to do this, and our subject matter experts did not. They're actually domain experts in their thing. So do not put the pressure on them to do that. It's better to have a conversation, and then you write those things and craft them, and then you have them sign off on it. Do not force people to do your work for you, because it will come back, and then people complain. They're like, oh, my subject matter expert writes terrible options for scenarios. Of course they do. Even instructional designers do this poorly. So how can you expect the subject matter expert to do this well when that's not their forte? This is awesome, and I think it works really well. Introduce yourself to them before you meet them, so that your first conversation where it really matters, like that interview that you want to do about storytelling or pulling out some important facts, is going to be starting off on the foot that's a little bit closer to having a relationship, because they already met you. They're not trying to warm up to you during that meeting. So have a conversation or send them a Loom video introducing yourself before you actually have that really important meeting, so that they're already warmed up to you. Acknowledge their role in the project. And one of the things you're doing here is not just saying, hey, you're important to my piece, but also you're letting them know the boundaries of this project. So what are you responsible for? Do not forget that part. So you're acknowledging that they are an essential part of this project, but they are not the only part of this project. And you're also showing them how they can contribute in the sphere of this project and therefore easing some of their anxiety. Show them the final product, show them what it's going to look like, show them early prototypes. All those things are there to build trust and reduce anxiety and reduce that unknowingness, that uncertainty, which everybody hates. So make sure that you are always working to mitigate that by working fast, by giving them examples, by showing them things that they can look forward to without overwhelming them. Offer choices, but not too many choices. I think where I messed up is I would give people just too many choices to choose from, and they would get overwhelmed and then never make a decision. So when you're helping your subject matter expert to do a good job, give them 2 well-crafted choices, especially if we're talking about visuals or let's say a character they have to choose or even language that they're going to use. Make sure it's just a couple of choices that are well selected, and then they can make a good decision. They feel like they were part of that decision-making process, but you didn't give them 15. Be very clear about what you need, what you want, what you require, what you want help with. I think what happens is I would send something like a document or a review document or a script to a subject matter expert, and I wanted them to review certain pieces, but because they didn't know that, or because I wasn't clear on what I needed, not only would I get the feedback, but I would also get grammatical corrections, or I would get something that was unnecessarily modified or they thought through, which really wasn't a part of that process yet. And so what's really important, I think, is either be very clear about what is expected of that person and how they can contribute. And if you have a specific document or a prototype you want them to review, sometimes what's actually more helpful is to book a time with them and do that work together. That way you keep the momentum up with that person. They don't have to do all this pre-work to figure out where they're at, and you can tap into them. And this is another tip, is just you can be very laser focused with what you need. And some of those meetings can be like 15 minutes where you're like, listen, I just need your input, and I have these 4 questions I need you to review with me. This is how the scenario is going to lay out. And this is the feedback they're going to get. What do you think here? How can we modify this? So I think they'll appreciate that because they know exactly you're guiding them. They're certain about how they can contribute, and also you're being very focused. So they're not looking at a whole document and basically losing steam by the time they get to the point that it is actually where you actually needed them to contribute the most. My final tip for you is that you walk into these situations expecting that everything that you need will be delivered to you. And I know that sounds kind of weird and woo-woo, but whenever I've had that expectation, that this positivity and the fact that I know that the universe will conspire for this to happen, and maybe I'll get another subject matter expert instead of just relying on one, those things really make a difference. And so that mindset makes a difference as well, because I think what it does is it opens you up to positivity. It makes you a more magnetic person because people want to be around you because you are positive and people are drawn to that. And it also helps you enter those conversations with a different kind of demeanor. So I hope that is helpful. And if you find these valuable, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification so that next time I launch a video like this, you can join me. The other thing is that if you are planning to create a portfolio piece and you want to work with subject matter experts and you want help with that because you are moving into this position, one of the things I suggest you do is jump on a strategy session with one of the members of my team to see if this is creating a portfolio piece and becoming a freelancer and then working with people to create more of these amazing projects is something that you want to do. So underneath the video, you'll find a link. Make sure you click it, and hopefully we can chat with you and see if you'll be a good fit for our particular program. I hope I see you in the next video. Take care, friends. Bye.